Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are you having an issue with your ISO 14001 version 2015 environmental management system? You have some issues on identification of environmental aspects, or you may have an issue with which environmental aspect and which environmental impact. In other words, which environmental impact would be the subsequent related impact to the environmental aspect, or you are maybe facing in the establishment of ISO 14001. There's an area of environmental aspects you do not know how to go about it, or perhaps, well, normally we have the internal auditors to come and check our register of environmental aspects, or certification audit is coming, and also perhaps surveillance audit is coming for our already established and certified ISO 14001 certificate. And perhaps recertification audit is coming. And let me tell you, all this audit will be involving the scrutinization, the checking, the investigation, the audit trailing, which normally begin with the environmental aspects impact register. So if you have an issue with that, or you are not sure, or you just want to revise your input output analysis or your environmental aspects impact register, and perhaps you want to have some other opinion of what would be the associated environmental impact for your environmental aspect, or you may want to know more about how to choose an environmental impact for each environmental aspect. Is there a formula? Is there a rule of thumb? I'm here for you. Right, before we go on, my Muslim colleagues, associates, brothers, sisters, please do not watch this video if you are already in a mosque for the Friday prayers or you are attending a religious lesson. All right, let's take a look at one activity which I chose to discuss how to identify environmental aspects and how to determine its respective related environmental impact. Okay, let's take a look. I have here before you what I want to share with you is to give you literally the map. When we do environmental aspects identification, where are we in the implementation chronology of ISO 14001? Some of you may have been certified, so this is not a problem, perhaps just a revision. But for those of our friends and colleagues who are just about to embark or review their environmental management system ISO 14001, I believe this map, literally I would say, is a form of chronology, a summarized, very summarized chronology of the implementation of ISO 14001. What we are going to do today here is over here. Environmental aspects. We are going to use the basic concept of environment mechanical engineering methodology, the mass balances. So it's about input and output. So this is how we determine the environmental aspects involved in each process of our organizational activity. Okay, and once we have done that, now I won't be discussing the rest before that, the context of organization. You got to read, and please get advice from your respective consultant and trainer. I believe they are well versed, highly experienced, and qualified to assist you. Please listen to them, okay? And once we have identified all our environmental aspects, then the next thing is for us to prioritize Nyam, nyam, nyam. Prioritize which environmental aspect need more urgent attention and which environmental aspect is most crucial as far as complying to the requirements of ISO 14001. So we got to do a kind of evaluation. Therefore, when we do evaluation, you got to have an evaluation set of criteria and rating. I will show that to you also, okay? And when we identify environmental aspects, we must know what are the associated risk and opportunity associated to those environmental aspects, okay? Now, please remember this. ISO 14001 version 2015 stipulated that an environmental management system manage environmental aspects by fulfilling compliance obligation and addressing risk and opportunity. So we got to understand for each environmental aspect, the main important thing we need to know is whether those environmental aspects are subscribing to any compliance obligation, law, municipal terms and conditions, EIA terms of approval, for example, business licenses, manufacturing licenses, permits from the government, from the vendor, what is the agreement with your vendor, with your client, what sort of specific agreement, etc., etc. These are wholesome, even though it is more on business agreement, but it is an obligation for us to comply, and that is stipulated under ISO 14001 version 2015. Hope that is understood. And once we have evaluated, we will find that there are several of our environmental aspects which are rendered significant. That is important. And nonetheless, we assemble all our environmental aspects in a form of aspects impact register. This I will show you in a form of what I call a dashboard. I love to have dashboard, meaning I could see, well, if you are driving a car, my tachometer, my odometer, my speedometer, my engine temperature, what is my top speed, speed at certain RPM of the engine. So I know about the engine, I know about the performance of the car. Now, I don't drive sports car, can't afford it, but some of you may own some sports car. RPM, rotation per minute, do you call it tachometer? Correct me if I'm wrong, is an important gauge indicator of the car's performance, maximum torque, mid-range power, low-end power, high-end power. It's from the RPM that you know versus the speedometer, you know the performance of your car. The same thing with ISO 14001, I would need to have these informations in front of my eyes. Now, another thing, if you are new, you are about to establish an environmental management system, please remember this. Once you know all your environmental aspects, and at that point, I believe you know exactly what your environmental issue is. Only then we start to formulate our environmental policy. Not policy first, it's going to be a mistake, okay? And from the register of environmental aspects as well, based on the help from what you identify from risks and opportunities, okay, then you are able to develop or you are able to establish the most appropriate environmental objectives for your company, and from then on, from there you are able to develop that is not acrophobic, it's a cheap exhaust. Don't worry about it. From the objective, then you display, you formulate who do what, when, and how much does it cost? Finance is important here. Previously is known as environmental management program. Now planning actions to achieve. Remember, who, do what, when, and how much it costs. My concern is how much. It could be money, budget. It could be budget and man hour. So please write it down. And the person who is involved or who is responsible for ensuring it gets achieved be displayed well, okay, in your so-called planning actions to achieve. We can still use the word EMP. It's not wrong, don't worry. So as long as it reflects planning actions to achieve. And most importantly, we have to really what they call know the company's intended outcome. Please check. Does the planning actions and achieve, does the environmental objective that you have set matches your intended outcome? It could be more than what you intended to achieve. Good. And please remember that the ISO 14001 has put some what you call specific elements in what's supposed to be an intended outcome. So it should include environmental performance. That is why I use environmental performance evaluation technique promulgated by ISO in their document called ISO 14031. It is a tool for environmental management system, but many doesn't use it. It's a waste. Use it, and I will show you in the dashboard how the EPE would be displayed. Okay, and okay, intended outcome. Look, obligations has got to be fulfilled. It has got to be part of your planning action. The same thing as performance. You need to display that your objective would be read or would have the mindset of having improvement. Okay, and on top of that, we got to achieve all the objectives. So it's all in one. Okay, one is complementing another. All these three items. So don't worry about it. You are here. Significant environmental aspect. You are identifying. Okay, and I've showed you once you have done your identification of environmental aspects correctly, accurately, probably, hopefully, okay, then you formulate your environmental policy. Not policy first, please. It's wrong. Okay, you get misled with your policy, and sometimes your policy is just superficial. No, it can be superficial, but it has got to, be reflected in the environmental objectives, planning actions to achieve, and your intended outcome. Okay, got it? All right, let's take a look. Here you are. As I promised, a picture. This is shown before in how she works in a coal crushing plant, if you remember the previous video. Now, this is an important process for coal-fired power plant. I'm not the expert in coal-fired power plant. I'm not the expert in health safety, okay? But I have quite a substantial passion in ecological sciences. That's all, okay? And I only have about 36 experience in applied environmental management and law and legal and sciences. That's it. Now, let's take a look. This is what I have for you. When you want to identify your environmental aspects, please use this input-output analysis, which is derived from mechanical engineering studies, okay? Now, this is, if you could see here, this is the input part, and this is the output. What are they actually? This input is for us to have to identify all the environmental aspects that comes in as input. Before that, what is environmental aspect? Environmental aspects are anything: substance, matter, equipment, product, intermediate product, even waste, even machines, even equipment, anything that interacts or can interact with the environment. And ISO 14001 did mention that we have got to look at it from a life cycle perspective. This is what I'm going to show you now. Look carefully. I have for you, as you can see, the input. We have got environmental aspect over here, and we have to identify what is its environmental impact. How to do that? Knowing already what is environmental aspect, it is a matter, a substance, not a process name, please. Okay, so when this is an input environmental aspect, based on my personal experience in life cycle assessment, which we've done just a couple of projects, is tedious, consume a lot of time and money and traveling. Now, when we have input environmental aspects, it means aspects that come in the process. Output environmental aspects are those aspects that leaves the process. Okay, let's go into input first. Now, input environmental aspect, in order for us to determine what would its environmental impact be, then we got to look at its life cycle. But we don't have to do life cycle. ISO 14001 mentioned about life cycle perspective, meaning we view with knowledge, with understanding, with consultation with your consultants, trainers, etc. We view that particular matter or substance from its life cycle, from end to end, from where it comes from until where it ends. Okay, that is life cycle. So for this one, since it is an input environmental aspect, we have got to go upstream of its life cycle. Therefore, one of the inputs into this particular process is coal crusher. What is it? It's a machine. The machine is an environmental aspect. Yes, I have proved to you now. This machine is itself an environmental aspect because to build this machine, you need materials like, as you could see, the bulk of it is metal. Let's take one, metal. Now, where does this metal come from? It comes from the coal crusher fabrication plant. The coal crusher fabrication plant gets in raw mat to build this machine. What are their raw mat? Metal plates. Got it? Metal plates, metal sheets, of course, certain specific type of metal rendered suitable for this particular equipment. Okay, and where does these metal plates come from? From metal sheets manufacturer, smelting factory. What does it smelts from? Ingots of metals. And where does ingots of metal comes from? Primary smelter of metal ore. And where does metal ore comes from? You know, it's from mining. Therefore, what is mining? Mining of what? Metal resources, which is embedded in rock structure. Certain rocks contain certain metals, so it's being mined. How is it being mined? It could be surface excavation, dredging, could be using some dynamites to blow up the rock structure, or even underground mining using shafts and tunnel. And important thing is what they mine is actually where these metals are embedded in the rock. This structure, these are resources. We call them natural resources. Got it? The more we extract these resources, as we know, it is a limited inventory. The more we extract these resources, what happened to the balance of the resources? It gets depleting and depleting over time. As more demand for this metal comes in the society, the more the end upstream of the life cycle is when the more demand for the resources, thereby rendering what is called in environmental management term resource depletion. This is the environmental impact eventually for the input environmental aspect coal crusher. Got it? I hope it is clear enough for you to follow. And when we have these machines ongoing, over time, you got wear and tear. Parts needs to be replaced. It gets kaput, it gets malfunction, it gets dislocated, etc., etc. So during maintenance, our maintenance people would be replacing some of the parts with new ones. And this is now, this environmental aspect are actually used crusher parts. It gets out of this process as output environmental aspect. So how to determine its environmental impact is by looking at its life cycle perspective. But which direction? Downstream. Got it? Of its life cycle perspective. Therefore, the used crusher parts, how? What happened? It interacts with the environment. How? It is being placed in a certain solid waste bin, probably. It can be sold off to some metal recycler, which is good. And there are some residues and there's some air pollution as well. I didn't write it there. And those recycler will be reusing the metal, and those residues from the recycling would become absolute waste and can no longer be used, and it shall be sent to probably a sanitary landfill or a municipal landfill or perhaps secure landfill if it is scheduled waste. In Malaysia, scheduled waste, maybe. Okay, so it interacts with the environment in that manner and thus eventually causes an environmental impact called soil contamination. You can think about the rest like coal stones. There you are. Comes from coal stone mining. There you are. All the granules would come up from the system causing all this associated environmental impact. The coal dust would be emitted out in the air and interact with the environment, the air media of the environment, and causing air pollution. Now, there's something interesting here because it is seldom. This machine vibrates. It is an environmental aspect, output. Okay, just in case there is any debate with perhaps your auditors, etc., please tell them vibration causes environmental impact. What environmental impact? Not earthquake or okay, vibration in ecological term. Well, I am not the ecologist, but there is a specific ecological term. I am not the ecologist, so please refer to them. But from my understanding, it would actually cause some fauna, which is a native fauna, which is the inhabitant of the existing habitat there, to be dispersed away from the vibration source. And that would cause a lag in the food chain, that would cause a disruption in the equilibrium of the ecological system in that area. And there will be some other interactions. And when an ecosystem is tapped or is disturbed, please, you know better than I do now, it will cause other sorts of environmental problems. Imbalance of water cycle in the world has now caused heavy rain somewhere. Those that have never get flooded, droughts the other end. All these are associated to what they call acute climate change, global climate change. Some of them call it global warming to be blamed, well. So this is what we have for your output analysis. I hope this is okay for you. Please look at it and study it, all right? And I hope this would make your output analysis in view of identifying environmental aspects at a higher level, at a more clarity in your mind and understanding. Please learn from your consultant and your trainers, all right? And as I promised, I'm showing before you now what is called my dashboard. Look, I have everything I need to manage my environmental aspects in my environmental management system before me. This is my dashboard. You can take a look. All right, I won't be discussing each and everything in detail, but if you need it, just comment below. I will try to work it out for you. Okay, I've got all my own evaluation criteria for all these environmental aspects criteria. I've got it. So from the input output analysis, our friends are here. There, coal crushing is a process under this. Okay, and what are the environmental aspects? I have only able to select 3 because of space, but in reality I suggest that you do this format in Excel. It's good, okay, and you can have it in front of you all the time. And the coal granules are here, okay, and vibration is here as well. I'll just pick a few, 3 of them, that's all. And the environmental impact, the associated environmental impact, which has been identified from its life cycle perspective, is there. Got it? So everything is there in front of us. And these are all the environmental aspects, impact criteria and rating. The criteria and rating is in another spreadsheet, okay? You can connect it with your Excel if you're good. I'm not. My staff did it for me those days. And we have got important thing here, something for you. Look, risk and opportunities. Okay, is situated here. So these are just samples, not for this aspect, okay? And this is just sample of the risk and opportunity for some other companies. I just paste it over here. And importantly, remember the intended outcome that has been stipulated by ISO 14001. We need to have environmental. Therefore, I mobilize environmental performance evaluation in indicators, MPI, Management Performance Indicator, OPI, Operational Performance Indicator, and ECI, Environmental Conditions Indicator, as individual performance and sum them up as an averaging total of a final score for their environmental performance evaluation. There you are. It's all in front of you. This is the dashboard that I love to have. Now you can use any type of evaluation criteria. I have developed something over the years, and I've tested it with 17 different types of industrial activity. And our last 5 tests, it doesn't prove us wrong. It has proved us right. Of course, before that, there's a lot of failures. Okay, we refine it over the years, and we finally find something that is suitable for any service and industrial sectors. Okay, and from this risk and opportunity, we derive 2 environmental objectives over here. Okay, and also the final score to determine whether aspect is significant or not. We have all this. Look, simple method of prioritizing environmental aspects. That's about it. YouTube and the YouTube team, wonderful people. My gratitude to the inventor of this YouTube so-called platform or app. I'm not sure what you call it. It's a program, I know. And I thank you, the YouTube team and the YouTube creator, inventor, etc., and those who share in our dashboard. It helps a lot, and especially for my subscribers, this channel subscribers, the supporters, the viewers, and those who comment. I love you guys. Thank you very much. I wish everybody in Bahasa Melayu semoga dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan, dan kejayaan kehidupan kita di dunia dan di akhirat. Therefore, what we have done is I have shown you the input-output analysis. I've discussed about where it is in the chronology of ISO 14001 position, and we have taken a look at the input output analysis with the picture itself, and now the dashboard is all for you to apprehend. All right, until we meet in the next video, I wish everybody, whoever you are, wherever you are in this world, whatever faith have you, whatever skin or hair color or eye color have you, I wish you this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.